Hello everyone. I've been asked to talk a bit more about consciousness. So I talked a bit about consciousness a couple of days ago in relation to the 5 skandhas, those heaps or aggregates that make us up. And I said that they weren't separate really. They described a process that takes place in us very quickly, and how it forms our view of ourselves. It forms our very self, if you like, our view that we have that there is something substantial and fixed. So there's 5 were form and feeling, discriminations, karma formations, and consciousness. So you could look at those little videos if you haven't. So I was thinking this morning about the story of the blind men and the elephant. I'm sure we're all familiar with it. It's not a Buddhist story. So yes, there are 5 men, or however many you like, and they're all asked to describe this elephant. And one says, "Oh, an elephant is extremely hard with a point on the end. It's made of very hard material." Of course, he's feeling the tusk. Another one says, "Oh, feels like leather. And it's vast." He's standing at the side. Another one says, "Oh, he doesn't stop moving. It's long and thin with a little tuft on the end, and he's feeling the tail." Another one says, "Well, he's very flat to the ground, and yes, there's some sharp bits here, some horny bits here, and he's feeling the foot." So, we're very familiar with that story, but how often do we really think about the implications of that for ourselves? So the Buddha said that we are all more or less mad, really, ignorant, spiritually ignorant. And we're mad in the way of seeing the world in a very topsy-turvy way. That's the way our consciousness works. So because of discrimination, because of karma formations, those very deep ruts that we've made for ourselves, and that have been made for us as well, of course, through our conditioning, through previous lives. But even if you don't think in terms of previous lives, throughout our whole life, we're conditioned within our family, within our education, within our culture, within the country that we're born. So all our past makes us up. If we want to know how we have arrived as we are today, we can look at the past. We can look at our past. So in what way are we mad? In what way do we have these topsy-turvy views? Well, of course, it's because our consciousness distinguishes between our self and everything else. Not just other people, but absolutely everything in our world. And the minute that we do that, we have a view that we believe in, that we think has some existence, that we think has some reality, even though it has no reality. So it doesn't. So in what way does it not have a reality? Well, it's not fixed. It's a tiny perspective. So in any moment of consciousness, we build a city out of a brick, you could say. So the brick itself is just a brick. But before we know it, what our mind does is add all sorts of layers, all sorts of stories, you could say. It makes all sorts of assumptions. It's laden with all our views, all our habits, and all our assumptions. So as soon as we look at anything, we have even unconscious views as well as conscious views. So, for example, let's say we make ourselves a cup of tea and we put it down before us. Okay, we're already assuming that it's too hot to drink, say, that it's boiling, that we are going to like it, that perhaps we've used our favourite cup. We've even made an assumption, even before we made the tea, that a cup is an appropriate thing to put our tea into. So there's already dozens of assumptions that we've made, even before we get to drink that cup of tea. Now let's say that we put out our hand to take the cup of tea, and actually we forgot to boil the water. So we have a real shock because the cup isn't warm at all, it isn't hot, it's cold. Immediately we're thrown because our expectations haven't been met. It isn't a hot cup of tea. Then dislike comes in. We don't like the fact that we've made a cup of tea, or we thought we'd made a cup of tea and we haven't. So our expectations haven't been realised. And something as small as that can really bother us, can really upset us. So how bizarre. Conditions came together. We had one expectation of conditions in a particular way, and those expectations weren't met. So, it could even put us in a bad mood. It could even make us go back to make a cup of tea in a bad mood, be careless and break a cup. So out of something very small, something else could be built up. Or it might be that actually we have a sense of humour about the cup of tea that isn't a cup of tea. Another person might have a sense of humour, and we might laugh. We might not even bother to make another cup of tea because we want to get on with our meditation, and we think it doesn't matter. So we're all very different in how we interpret these tiny little things that happen in our life. So one of the most baffling and down-to-earth teachings that the Buddha gave, well, down-to-earth and very profound, was in the seen, only the seen, in the heard, only the heard, in the cognized, only the cognized, and so on. And what does this mean? Well, it means, basically, let your senses just sense. Don't add to them. Don't make a building out of a brick. Don't build up, because once you build up, you're getting further and further away from the truth. The truth is the simple, what our senses tell us in a very simple way. And if we can do that, especially if we can do that with people, it's like we can be completely open. We can be like a receptive bowl, empty, and open to discovery, open to whatever we might discover without having made any assumptions. And that's a very beautiful thing, because it means that we're not getting in the way by interpreting before really we've any evidence. So yes, that's what our divided consciousness does. That's what vijnana, the divided consciousness, it's how it acts. And it's very fascinating, and I might say more tomorrow. But that's long enough. Bye for now.